We didn't see that coming. We didn't. If you're saying you saw it coming, you're lying. Whew. You got us good. You got us.
Hi everyone, it's Greyson, and this is Greyson Talks Everything. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're not new and are returning, welcome back. If you haven't done it already, do be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, and also follow my Instagram where you can get the latest updates on when videos of mine are coming out, and to also just like and admire some fan art of mine that I regularly post on there. Some should be showing up on the screen right now. And if you want to follow my Instagram right now, the link to that is always in my description. But if you want to see my tag right now, this second, that should be showing up on the screen as well. Alright, let's get into this. Today we are talking about Loki episode 4. This was such a good episode, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But again, like, comment, share, and subscribe, follow my Instagram, all that fun stuff. Let's get into this video. I honestly cannot believe we have to wait another week until episode 5, because this episode is not only the greatest Marvel episode in Marvel television to date, yes, I'm including Daredevil in that statement, but I believe this episode was honestly better than some Marvel movies. Seeing how the show is developing as well, I am at all not surprised why Kevin Feige decided to drastically change Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in the last minute, getting rid of Scott Derrickson and hiring Michael Waldron to redo the script because the show is just so well written and he's the head writer on this show. I also find it interesting that everyone at the TVA seems to always be lying, while it's the only place Loki is willing to be truthful, which makes the truth equal chaos in this world, which is a great piece of writing right there. This show is just so spectacular. I can't wait to see more. Let's break it all down. Loki episode 4's post-credit scene reveals 4 new Loki variants, some of who are lifted from the comics, while others appear to be very, very different. After recovering from his latest death fake-out at the end of Loki episode 4, the Nexus event, Loki variant L1130 finds himself face-to-face with 4 new Loki variants, one of whom is an actual crocodile. While 2 of these new variants are lifted from the pages of the Marvel Comics, the other 2 appear to have been created for this Disney Plus show. The Nexus event episode saw some major developments, including poor Agent Mobius getting pruned, the all-powerful Timekeepers being revealed as nothing more than automatrons, and Loki himself apparently being killed by Ravonna Renslayer, only to wake up in a post-apocalyptic New York City. So, who are the Loki variants that greet him there, and what might they know about the real origins of the Time Variance Authority? On the far right is Old Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, who is wearing a version of Loki's classic costume from his very first appearance in 1962's comic Journey into Mystery issue 85. In the middle is Kid Loki, played by Jack Veal, who is taken from a more recent comic arc in which Loki died and was reborn as a child, beginning in Thor issue 617. On the left is a Loki wielding a hammer, played by Diobia Opry, who in German voice cast credits is listed as a boastful Loki. Finally, there's the crocodile being held by Kid Loki, whose horned helmet identifies them as another Loki variant. Waking up after being pruned by Ravonna, Loki wonders aloud if he's in Hell, the realm where Asgardians go when they die. Old Loki replies, "Not yet, but you will be unless you come with us." The Loki variants are standing in the ruins of New York City, with the crumbling Stark/Avengers Tower visible behind them. It appears that these variants have been hiding out in an apocalyptic event, like Sylvie was, but in this case are hiding out after the apocalypse has taken place. It's unclear whether this is the future in the sacred timeline, or whether it's an alternate timeline. Of course, given that so much else about the TVA has turned out to be false and a lie, there may not be any such thing as a sacred timeline after all. While Old Loki and Kid Loki presumably have similar stories to their comic book counterparts, Boastful Loki and Crocodile Loki are a mystery. Is Crocodile Loki the result of one of Loki's transformations gone wrong? Is the hammer held by boastful Loki a version of Mjolnir? Could this be a version of Loki who succeeded in arranging the death of his brother and ascended to the throne of Asgard? Could one of the many Loki variants be responsible for creating the TVA? The post-credit scene certainly raises a lot of questions for the remaining 2 episodes for Loki to answer. Loki episode 4 pulled back the curtain on the Timekeepers, revealing they're nothing but a trick. What's going on, and who is the real villain? Loki episode 4 reveals the Timekeepers are all just a trick. But who is the trickster? Loki episode 1 established its basic premise. The timeline skews towards chaos, with an organization called the Time Variance Authority working to erase branching realities and prevent the creation of a new multiverse. The TVA are ruled by a triumvirate of powerful beings called the Timekeepers, who claim to have risen to power out of the last multiverse war, which threatened all of creation itself. It was, appropriately enough, only a matter of time before Loki was introduced to the Timekeepers. Sylvie was driven to confront them and make them pay for the havoc they had wreaked on her life, while Loki liked the idea of taking their power for himself. What's more, the Timekeepers themselves seem to have sensed the threat the Loki variants posed to their own plans, because according to Ravonna Renslayer, they were taking a special interest in this case. Finally, in Loki episode 4, Ravonna brought the 2 Lokis before her bosses, only for the variants to break free. What followed was a thrilling action sequence that ultimately turned the MCU's entire multiverse on its head. Sylvie lashed out at one of the 3 entities, decapitating it, and discovering it was nothing more than a mindless android. What is going on? The TVA ordinarily sentence variants to apparent destruction via their reset staffs, but it seems the Lokis have caused so many problems the Timekeepers wanted to see them personally. As they say, what do you have to say for yourself before you meet your end, variants? One of the Timekeepers demanded, suggesting they simply wanted to witness the execution of the 2 beings who had threatened the integrity of the sacred timeline. Sylvie, however, had another explanation for their actions. She thought that they were scared, disturbed, and their reign could actually be threatened. The Timekeepers passed their judgment, sentencing Loki and Sylvie to deletion. But fortunately, they were rescued by the intervention of Hunter B-15. She'd learned the truth thanks to Sylvie, that she and the other TVA agents were all variants, stolen from a timeline where she was happy and brainwashed into serving the Timekeepers. And she knew the trickster gods were her best shot at overthrowing these tyrannical would-be gods. Renslayer and her agents did their best to protect the Timekeepers, but they failed, and one of them was decapitated by Sylvie. The Lokis learned a shocking truth when they examined the head. The Timekeepers were actually mindless androids, mere puppets of whoever really runs the TVA. Another layer of deception, but the other 2 Timekeepers did not seem shaken at the brothers' decapitation, instead simply laughing as this lie was unveiled. Even Ravonna Renslayer appeared unsurprised, continuing to attack the 2 variants remorselessly. A subtle detail in Loki episode 4 had already hinted the Timekeepers were a lie, in that the lighting in the corridor the Timekeepers dwelled in was different to the rest of their structure. It was yellow, reminiscent of the yellow brick road in The Wizard of Oz that led Dorothy to the great, all-powerful Oz, who, in reality, was all a trick. When the curtain was pulled aside in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy learned the wizard was simply a machine run by an ordinary human being who had used technology to create the illusion of supremacy. In Loki, the 2 versions of the trickster gods stand in the place of Dorothy, and the curtain is pulled aside in a rather more violent manner. The TVA believe they have been created by the Timekeepers in order to police the sacred timeline, but Loki episode 3 had already begun to unravel that claim, revealing all their agents were actually variants plucked from the timeline and pressed into the Timekeepers' service. That in itself suggested the Timekeepers' claim to supremacy was over-exaggerated, and they weren't quite so powerful as they seemed or wanted to be believed. Now, however, The Lokis have discovered the timekeepers do not exist at all. Rather, they are nothing but a lie, and everything that they have taught the TVA is suspect as well. This revelation recasts the purpose of the TVA. They believe their role is to prevent the emergence of a new multiverse by erasing all branches, but it seems more likely they are simply tools whose job is to ensure the sacred timeline proceeds according to the will of their true master. This is somebody who fancies themselves as a god, who revels in ruling the timeline, but who prefers to rule from the shadows through proxies. That last point likely means variants from them exist in the sacred timeline, and the entire house of cards would fall apart if they used their real name. So who could this be? My thoughts is, since Ravonna Renslayer seemed unfazed at the sight of a decapitated android version of the Timekeepers, and she is, as we've discussed, is like usually one of the biggest characters in Kang's lore. She could be working with Kang the Conqueror to ensure he becomes the ruler of the universe in some time in the sacred timeline, and she'd be able to rule by his side. Or it could be another variant of Loki who decided to turn over a new leaf and try to stop all chaos, even if it brings on more. Loki episode 4 features the seeming death of a fan favorite character, Mobius and Mobius, but there's a chance that he might still be alive. In the Loki episode 4 post-credits scene, the god of mischief was revealed to be very much alive. Rather than erasing people and items from existence, the TVA's equipment instead seemed to be a painful form of teleportation. Where exactly Loki landed will remain the subject of fierce speculation until Loki episode 5, even though it still looks like a destroyed New York City. What was made clear, however, was that he wasn't the only Loki variant present in that new realm, with Richard E. Grant finally making his debut alongside multiple other iterations, bearing a further reveal that only somebody with Loki's god-level heritage can withstand being pruned. There's every chance that Mobius was equally just teleported. Whether that would be to the same realm as Loki also remains to be revealed. In other cases, it could mean that yet another Mobius and Loki reunion was set up. It could even be revealed that more than one Mobius variant exists in the realm Loki ended up in. After all, it was previously teased that Judge Renslayer had another TVA analyst besides Mobius that worked for her. The moment was played for charming banter, but could actually belie something much more sinister. One theory stated that she had frequently mind-wiped Mobius, hence him not remembering past interactions. Another was that Renslayer had more than once pruned Mobius before replacing him with a new variant and starting from scratch. Loki episode 4 certainly lent credence to that idea. If so, fans can probably rest assured that Wilson's Mobius will return in the coming episodes. So that's my review and breakdown of Loki episode 4. We are more than halfway through this series, or at least through season 1, because I heard there's going to be a season 2, which I'm really excited for. So what did you think of this video? What did you think of this episode? I really want to hear you guys' thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Again, follow my Instagram to get the latest updates on when videos of mine are coming out. And again, to admire some art. Alright, bye everyone.